Boom! What's going on, guys? 360 Digital Closing Bell Daily Energy Market Summary, episode number 144 here on this gorgeous Friday, October 23rd, 2020. Give yourself a clap. We made it to the weekend, folks. We have a hall pass to give out. As always, I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Denver, Colorado, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, Stuart Socrates Turley. How you doing today?
I'm just glad you didn't call me Pluto.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Stu, and we have a wildly busy show lined up for you here. We got EQT rumored to be buying CNX that dropped while we were recording the show yesterday, so we will cover all of that. U.S. rig counts climbed 5 rigs. Ring does a nice little stock offering. Stu's wild on the international news desk, and unfortunately, we have to talk the debate last night because oil and gas was brought up, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We'll cover everything on the equity markets, but first, guys, just subscribe. 360 Digital Closing Bell via our YouTube channel, Oil and Gas 360. Subscribe. Do whatever makes the algorithms go nuts. It's not that hard to watch this thing on YouTube. As I told everybody on the podcast this morning, if your excuse to not watching the shows, I can't put it up on my TV, it's not that hard. It's easy. Throw it up, subscribe. We really appreciate all the support. When we look at the overall equities markets today, guys, first big thing is stimulus was, the sentiment really dried out today. We saw a little bit of positivity in the morning, which sort of drove markets up. But guys, in the afternoon, we sort of had just not a tailing off, just things finished fairly flat. SPY was up about tenth of a percentage point. Nasdaq stayed fairly flat, down about a 0.06 percentage points. Dow Jones was down a quarter percent, which you can see not much movement either way. The quote we have that came out of Treasury Secretary Mnuchin was, "We've offered compromises, the speaker, on a number of issues and are still dug in. If she wants to compromise, there will be a deal, but we've made a lot of progress in a lot of areas, but there's still some significant areas that we are working through." So, kind of throws a little damper on what we thought was hopefully going to be a stimulus deal this week. This kind of leads for the fourth straight week of markets being down, specifically because of the fact that some of the stimulus stuff. So we'll be watching that stuff as we roll into the weekend. Moving into the crude oil markets, fairly flat, 38.90, 38.981, excuse me. That's down about 2 percentage points, really just because of the stimulus stuff. I think along with some of this supply side outlook, specifically on OPEC plus side, they're still trying to cut, as they reaffirmed yesterday, but it doesn't look like the supply side with Libya, Iran, all of this new oil coming back on. It doesn't look like it's happening. So that's just some weakness in the overall markets, but I wouldn't say there was any huge news. Back end of the curve was down about 1.75 percentage points, 41.85. So if the splits are getting a little better, still want to see them curve up a little bit because it's right now that crude oil curve is wildly flat. On the natural gas side, $2.97. That's 1.1% on the downside. Back end of the curve was about 0.5 percentage point to the downside, 306. So a lot of that's off some just bearish weather reports that came in overnight that come into this week. Remember, we got about 2 more hours before these futures contracts go ahead and close up for the weekend. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Looks like next week's also going to be cold as well. I know the outlook for Colorado and the Midwest doesn't look too good. So that's really going to be driving down these prices, and specifically as we see some of these more LNG exports continue to come up. But really the fundamental picture, as we covered yesterday and this morning on our podcast, has remained unchanged in terms of the fundamentals. Like I said, back into the curve, $3.06. So you got about 0.5% split on the two splits today. XOP again stayed fairly flat, 44.76. OIH, which are oilfield services, 101.68. That's a third of a percentage point on the upside. So not bad on that front. When we look at our biggest movers on the downside, a lot of companies that we expect to kind of be around that. Gulfport Energy's down big after declaring bankruptcy. Barnwell Industries down 4.5 percentage points. High Point Resources down big again, 5 percentage points. TransGlobe Energy Corp is down 6 percentage points, 41 cents. Tenseco Gas Company down 18 percentage points. There were still some glimmers of hope on the upside. Like I said, that contract was technically negative, but your split was about 50-50. Contango Oil and Gas finishes on the upside, 10 percentage points. Of course, natural gas producers are going to be up. Consol Energy was up big, 8 percentage points. Suncoke Energy was up 7 percentage points. Laredo Petroleum, they had a redetermination that came last night that reaffirmed their $725 million borrowing base, which is about a 6% reduction, but they did about 15% of reduction in terms of some of the capital they borrowed. So they're up big 6 percentage points. Callum Petroleum, not sure what's going on with them in terms of, hey, are they on the Chapter 11 watch? Are they not? Some good news out today is they're up 6 percentage points. So I mean, good and bad news if you're following the U.S. equity side. Internationally, Stu, what do we got on the news desk today?
It's just been really, really busy. And here comes another one. And you sit back and finally, one of the ones that I had been expecting, and I'm going to hold it up right here. Here we go. Got a peace treaty in. And it is Sudan to join the United Arab Emirates in Bahrain, recognizing Israel. This is another step in getting oil stabilized through peace. And I'm all about getting stable oil through peace.
Your reputation just needed this deal more so than really the Israelis needed the support. Really, this deal comes down to your reputation. You've been calling this for weeks now. I love it.
I was running a little late, and here's why. It's because the deal involves Israeli technology going to Sudan. And the other part of this is that they removed the terror designation from Sudan because Sudan paid some bucks back, $335 million to compensate American victims from terrorist activities. Ooh. So they are now eligible for world help by removing this. What does this do? It helps some stabilization, and I am very, very happy that it came through. Good job to everybody. Okay. We like peace. We like lots of power to everybody. Here we go. All right. Coming around the corner. We are in Europe, the EU. Second wave of COVID hits the refineries. Couple stats here, man. Demand for gasoline fell as much as 90% in the first wave. They're expecting only 80% in this second wave.
That's still disgusting, though.
Oh, it's horrible. Our heart goes out. That's going to be. There's 700,000 barrels per day of crude processing that is switched off for maintenance reasons, and they're looking at leaving that off until they figure out what's going on. There's another 340 million barrels per day that they are looking at doing renewable and switching over to biodiesel. So there's some people trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. Our buddies at Rystad put out some supportive information on that. Some really crazy nuggets in this article. They were supporting of the productions in Europe. In 2014, Michael, what was the break even for oil back then? 2014, $82 a barrel was break even. Woo! In after 2018, $44 a barrel is break even. Ooh. So they're now saying that with this, it is really coming around the corner on looking at deep water production. We talked about that. This is Rystad talking about deep water. Okay, coming around the corner. We now are jumping off, and we got that little airplane going along like, was it Raiders of the Lost Ark? PetroChina. Here we go like this. Okay, PetroChina. They will be putting LNG imports at 23 billion cubic meters per square. Total gas imports are going to be up by 10% for next year. Here's some. Here's who they.
You want to talk about a bullish number for natural gas prices, right there? Gotta love that.
Okay, here's something cool. They get their natural gas from Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan. Thank you. Bless you. Uzbekistan, Myanmar, and Russia. And the most winner is Turkmenistan at 19.5 billion metric cubic.
Interesting. I would have expected that gasoline or that natural gas to come from elsewhere. But that's an interesting split right there.
Oh, it was very good. It's on the news desk. So we have had a busy week, and I'm ready for your hall pass.
Yeah, no, it's been good. But first, we got to figure out what happened on the U.S. shale side. Obviously, big news of the day that actually dropped when we were recording the show yesterday. EQT rumored to be buying CNX Resources, guys. To give you an idea, EQT is the largest Appalachian and producer over there in the Marcellus Shale. They do about 4 billion cubic feet in the first quarter. CNX, a little smaller. They do about 1.3 billion, according to the data in that same time frame. They're about 44% larger than their nearest competitor, who's ExxonMobil. It's just reports that they've sent a deal over there. We have no terms, even though some of the notes that are getting sent out, and I want to read them to you specifically here, see very little to no premium. So, we're, kind of as I would say the squawk on the street. This deal doesn't look likely to happen, but from the CNX side. And so my guess is when you read this story, who leaks this, we always are about the story behind the story. I think this is coming from EQT, partly because they're trying to seal this deal up. It sounds like some of the resistance is coming from CNX Resources shareholder base. I mean, think about it. If this is going to be a 0 to 5% all stock premium deal, natural gas companies are only going to become more valuable here in the future, as it really feels like there's a turning point when it comes to natural gas and the conversation we're having around ESG. So I think these shareholders are going to be resistant. JP Morgan analyst Arun Jaham said in a note that the deal would make operational sense and drive some level of synergies, but they're also skeptical that the deal will actually get done because it'll include a very little to low premium, about 5% or less. The odds are, and this is what I believe, is that they're just going to double down on Chevron's Appalachian assets. As you know, about 3 months ago, they bid $600 million. They're still working out some of the details on that. My guess is they're going to end up doing that. I mean, this deal could get done. Who knows? But I think that premium is going to have to be a little bigger than what we would expect in order to get this deal done. Stu, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think it's, again, changing the whole face on everything. It's there are about 6 more that you had talked about on our earlier show today. It's pretty weird.
Yeah,
top producers are Oxy, Pioneer, ConocoPhillips, and EOG. Who's going to, pop back into that?
I think Pioneer's done with the M&A. I mean, on the natural gas side, I think this is, EQT is probably the one company that can come in and do some of this M&A stuff, specifically on that side. As you remember, they bought Rice Energy for about $6.7 billion in 2017. So they have a history of doing stuff like this. And like I said, it'll be interesting. It sounds like, again, the squawk on the street is the resistance is coming from the CNX side. So we'll see what happens.
What are your thoughts on Marathon and Diamondback?
Well, again, so that those 2 companies theoretically were in the same realm that Concho, Hess, and and Hess, as in they could go either way. They could either have been buyers at the deadline if they like the valuations, or they could be sellers at the deadline if they don't like the valuations. The fact that they haven't come in and swooped up yet, I think means they don't like the valuations. And I think Concho, as I've said many times, shows that I think the selling, the valuations on selling and becoming a larger company work better than just trying to work your way up through the smaller. The valuations on these small cap companies clearly aren't attractive to the people buying. It could care less what I think about them. It all that matters is what the people in those positions. It only takes 2 people to make a deal, really, 2 CEOs. I mean, you have to get some shareholders agreement, but that's really what it boils down to. It's really all you need, 2 people in a room hammering out some details. So I think there's some interesting stuff that goes along. I highly recommend checking out our podcast, The Oil and Gas Show, iTunes, Spotify. You can also check the show out on YouTube. We cover a lot more of this stuff in detail. U.S. rig counts climbed by 5, so that's slightly bullish, which in terms of putting some people back to work. 278 or 87 rigs, which is an increase of 5. Canada saw an increase of 3. Total Canadian rig counts up to 3. To kind of give you a breakdown, all of them were in the Permian. So Everyone else staying flat. Permian decided to get back to work. Hey, we'll take it though. I actually know 2 of those rigs are a company called Crown Quest. I got a couple buddies that work down there. There is a private company, Stu. They've been drilling this whole time, baby. He said they've been active and drilling this whole time. Shout out to them. I don't know where they're getting their cash from, but hey, we'll take it at this point. Last thing we got to cover here, $18 million in stock offerings. Ring gives away to an institutional investor. They offer about 12 million shares at 85 cents, which gives this person, we're not sure how much, but that gives them, as we covered on our show podcast as well, just a little more breathing room as they head into their November redetermination. They'll probably have anywhere between 30 to 45 million cash on hand, which will probably be enough depending on where their redetermination goes. All right, Stu, unfortunately, we got to chat about the debate last night. I did something that's almost as bad as watching the debate. I watched the clips. So as somebody who did the deed and actually watched, give me a high level, what I missed.
Okay, let me give you a playbook. First thing I got to say is hats off to the moderator. I thought she did a fabulous job trying to keep those 2 guys in line, and she tried to be fair. I have to give her credit for that. And then you take a look. Here's my fact check crayons. I am writing like a big dog. I got 17 screens up. I can't keep up with fact checked. I finally had to start just putting my head in the toilet and throwing up, trying to figure out, who's telling what. Now, I think that when Biden hit the energy button, he was actually saying, oh, by the way, we are going to get rid of fossil fuels. And he was pandering to he's given up on everybody else. And he's having to go after supporters that are on the Green New Deal. And you and I are of the belief oil and gas is here. We need it. We need renewables. We need solar. We need all of these things, but we need it at the lowest kilowatt per hour. We don't need to be putting some of this garbage out there that I heard last night from that. Trump had some outstanding points, and he had some points that were, not there. Now, the political aspect of it, I'm going to keep my mouth shut on some of it. I think we need to have term limits.
Yeah, we covered that on the podcast this morning. I mean, the reaction on Twitter, which I know exactly what happened on the debates too. I scrolled through Twitter and got Twitter's reaction to what happened. So I know exactly what happened in the debate. I can give you a critical breakdown analysis baked in facts because I got my information from Twitter. I kid. I did hear that the moderator did well. I did see the clip. It was about a 1.5 minute clip of Biden talking about. I mean, he didn't say he wants to end the fossil fuel industry. In his defense, he didn't say he wants to do it day one. He wants to transition to renewable energy. I'm sure there'll be some backwalking. And as we talked about on the podcast this morning, my thoughts is if he's having to go that route, that means he's shoring up his own base and he's forgetting and he's really said, not really going to start reaching across that, which is fine. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. I think it's much more of a political move than I actually think he's going to tink shut us all down. But hey, Stu, this could be our last show. So if it is our last show, what do you want to be remembered for?
Smoke them if you got them. Good management, good numbers. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. What's a few billion between friends? We have had a great run. I'm just kidding. Because we are energy 360. We are covering everything energy. So
I know. I only kid. We'll be around regardless. But man, some of the sentiment you see going around today is not good. So we miss anything else, Stu? I think it's time for a hall pass.
I think we all need the hall pass.
I think we all need a hall pass. So we're going to go ahead and let you guys get out of here. Finish up your day and leave early. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. Thank you for checking us out. Daily Energy Market Summary, episode number 144 on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. It's the weekend, guys. Enjoy it. We'll see you on Monday.